About 100 years ago, A. Milne, who wrote stories and poems for children, wrote a verse called "The Knight Whose Armour Didn't Squeak." Knights, they're talking about there are the knights of all parts of the British Isles, wherever there was wealth in the Middle Ages. There were people dressed up in metal to protect them so they could go and fight each other and so on. And that's what we're talking about here. Of course, nowadays we've got two sorts of knights that we often encounter on the chessboard, those things that go 1, 2 and 1 sideways, and also people who have got some kind of honour, and we call them sir, apparently. Anyway, this is the knight whose armour didn't squeak, and there are some STEM messages within it. Watch out for the chemistry and the materials engineering and the mathematics. Of all the knights in Appledore, the wisest was Sir Thomas Thom. He multiplied as far as 4 and knew what 9 was taken from to make 11. He could write a letter to another knight. No other knight in all the land could do the things that he could do. Not only did he understand the way to polish swords, but knew what remedy a knight should seek whose armour had begun to squeak. And if he didn't fight so much, it was that he didn't care for blips and buffetings and such, but thought that it was hardly fair to risk by frequent injuries a brain as delicate as his. His castle, Castle Thom, was set conveniently upon a hill, and daily, when it wasn't wet, he paced the battlements until some smaller knight who couldn't swim should reach the moat and challenge him. Or sometimes, feeling full of fight, he hurried out to scour the plain. On seeing some approaching knight, he either hurried home again or hid until the foe was past, then blew a triumphant trumpet blast. One day when good Sir Thomas Thom was resting in a handy ditch, the noises he was hiding from, though very much the noises which he'd hidden from before, seemed somehow less, or was it more? The trotting horse, the trumpet blast, the swishing sword, the armour's creak. These, and especially the last, had clattered by him all the week. Was this the same, or was it not? Something was different, but what? Sir Thomas raised a cautious ear and listened as Sir Hugh went by. Then suddenly he seemed to hear, or not to hear, the reason why this stranger made a nicer sound than other knights who lived around. Sir Thomas watched the way he went. His rage was such he couldn't speak. For years they'd called him down in Kent the knight whose armour didn't squeak, yet here and now he looked upon another knight whose squeak had gone. He rushed to where his horse was tied. He spurred it to a rapid trot. The only fear he felt inside was not how sharp his sword, how stout his heart, but has he made too long a start? Sir Hugh was singing, hand on hip, when something sudden came along and caught him a terrific blip right in the middle of his song. A thunderstorm, he thought, of course, and toppled gently off his horse. Then said good Sir Thomas Thom, dismounting with a friendly air, "Allow me to extract you from this heavy armour that you wear. At times like these, the bravest knight may find his armour much too tight." 100 yards or so beyond the scene of brave Sir Hugh's defeat, Sir Thomas found a handy pond, and careful not to wet his feet, he brought the armour to the brink and flung it in and watched it sink. And ever after, more and more, the men of Kent do proudly speak of Thomas Thom of Appledore, the knight whose armour didn't squeak, while brave Sir Hugh, who gave him best, squeaks just as badly as the rest. And as sustainability champion, I should explain that the armour was in fact recovered and reused. That of course is why it's squeaking. Now we've done this in the extended reality studios with no expense spared, even with the horses that we've got here. And I'd like to thank my colleagues for doing that, making it possible to show what we can do really quite quickly when an idea comes up. So I'd like to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.